Hey everybody, welcome back to Smirking Reviews. This is Rob, and we're back talking more Walking Dead Season 11. We're on episode 14, and it's called The Rotten Core. So if you have not seen this episode, either get AMC Plus or go to sleep for a week because, again, this show just keeps this episode and this part of the season is still really, really good. I'm still really, really enjoying this. I said it last time video that it looks like a show that's having fun again. I'm having fun watching it. These episodes are probably going to at least go down for me as when I'm doing like a binge watch or just a long watch of the entire series. A lot of shows I don't really look forward to the end because a lot of them can be kind of bad. A lot of things can be kind of checked out or going through the motions and stuff. And this is finding a way to definitely get engaged as you get closer to the end. So like I'm excited for like future watches of this entire series now because of some of these episodes. So before we jump in though, make sure that you're hitting that like button, and if you're not a subscriber, please become a subscriber to the channel. Helps me with motivation to keep trying new things like we're doing here now on this channel. So anyway, let's talk about the Rotten Core. All right, so there's basically two stories going on here. It's the story, and then there's the apartment story where you got Toby, Aaron, Gabriel, Negan, and it's all wild. And everything, though, is somehow still goes right back connected to Lance Hornsby. And again, Josh Hamilton kicking as Lance Hornsby. And like I said last video, Jason Butler Harner as Toby Carlson has been a really great bad guy for these two episodes. And since we're talking spoilers, my only real complaint about this episode would have to be that I feel like killing Toby Carlson off right now, just as like I was really starting to get to like him and have him be a really good foil. Just another person that's, could cause our characters difficulty. And since I'm really liking what they're doing with this character, I think that he would have been a great foil for later on, even somebody who could turn the tables later on, since he's being blackmailed. But it's also one of the best deaths we've had in a while. So, you got to take the good with the bad. But before all that, he really, throwing everybody off the roof, going room to room, shooting everybody there, saying he's helping, And I like how, even though Lance is calling him looking for assurances, Toby's like, yeah, it's all good. It's all fine. It's all going to be, because in his mind, it will be fine. Like he's back in that mode, and he's just never met our group before. And so, unfortunately, our group and Aaron, they pretty much have had it with him, especially Aaron, right? Do not go threatening the kids. But we've also got this heist story going on where poor Daryl, gets on Sebastian's radar. He tried to just be supportive of the guy, but the sarcasm leaked through. And so now he's like, oh, well, then I just found my next, cannon fodder for my little heist job, which, like I said 2 episodes ago, when you take away someone like that's money and they're a narcissistic sociopath with possible psychotic tendencies, they're just going to make life miserable for other people. And he's been making people miserable for a while, and he's been sending people to their deaths so he can get money that is only valuable in the Commonwealth. So that's the kind of person you're dealing with. Money outside of the Commonwealth means diddly squat. there's another thing that I want to talk about just briefly, and that is when Daryl came in with his donuts, and there's a woman there, and she's giving him a little bit of guff about the donut situation, making the old cop joke and donuts. I had no idea at first that that was Rosita. We've seen Rosita on the road. We've seen her when she was, having a kid. And the actress is a beautiful woman, but we've never actually gotten to see it too much on the show. And she was so starkly different. She looked so different that I literally did a triple take. And when I realized it was her, I was like, damn, Rosita. I take back everything I said about this show looking too clean, because if that's what the end result is, forget it. Sign me up for that. So they go out there. He's got guys on the take. They have to do the old guts thing, which at this point, yeah, it's been done to death, but we've never seen it done with stormtroopers. So, okay, here we go. And it's fine. The real interesting thing is when we find out what's really been going on, that Sebastian is sending people in there. If they live, they live. If they don't, they don't. And he doesn't care. And I don't think he realizes that there's a woman still in the panic room. And this is where Daryl and Rosita get to see what's been going on, not just with Sebastian, but with Lance, and how both these characters have been trying to get into this building. And it was just who was going to get lucky. And if Lance had probably gotten to Daryl first, maybe he'd have gotten the money. But this is also where things intersect with Mercer and Carol. And now these characters who have already had doubts, now they get to see more of the bigger picture. Now, I said I only had one complaint, but there's two. And it's minor because they just wanted the situation to get to where it was going. And I've talked about the other shows and this show, when they do it, when they're just like, we need to get to this point, sometimes writing fails a character. And I think that Carol is better at hiding things than how they had her portray it when she was talking to Lance. I think she's way better at convincing people that she doesn't know anything without looking like the timid little housewife. Now, I know Lance is also a con man, so he would be a little more built in for distrust. But I think that they would have but they needed him to pick up that receiver. They needed the plot to get there. So Carol was a little more obvious in this scene. Fine. But I said, I don't like it when our characters that suddenly become a little more stupid for the sake of a scene. So now Lance, we don't know what he says after it. It could be just keep an eye on Carol Peltier, or we need to get Carol and the rest of these people, let's talk to them and make sure that they understand what's going on, which is a coup. Again, it's all really clear that this is a coup. Another thing is the surprise ending. Now, when we find out who was actually taking the guns, right, that was a bit of a letdown. So I guess there's three things. But I enjoyed it so much that they didn't hurt the overall entertainment value that I had on this, which is to reveal that it's not Lance and it wasn't the Michael Bihn's warlord. No, it's Daryl's true love and Leah, played by Lynn Collins, who, look, Lynn Collins is another stunning actress, and I love having her on the show, but I thought that this was a chance to either write her out of the show. I noticed her name was still in the credits, and I like the last couple of episodes. And so I thought maybe it was just because, that they would bring her back for the end, and so they just throw her in the titles. Sometimes people are written as that they're in, but it's credit only. So when it turned out to be her and not somebody else, I was a little disappointed, because here we are in the final season. If you're going to bring people back, if you're going to surprise the hell out of the audience and say somebody that we haven't seen in a while, or somebody who disappeared, or somebody who left the show, and I don't mean Rick, all right? That would have been too bananas. I mean, if it was Rick, the internet would have broke. But it could have been, I was just thinking about anybody that could have maybe lived or something, but no, it's just her. And that's fine. But that's interesting because why is she doing it? I mean, right now, I'd have to say, oh, she sees Daryl happy, and so maybe she's trying to mess things up for him. Like if her people can't, whatever. I don't know what the reasoning is, but either way, I feel like it's almost an unnecessary wrinkle from a character that should have just kind of, you know what? She should have gone over to Fear the Walking Dead. She should have left like everybody else does and just goes over to Fear the Walking Dead, where you can be a part of, zombie tornadoes and, you know, atomic bombs going off and cowboys getting killed too early. Garrett Dillahunt. Anyway. And so the last bit of this episode takes place at the apartment complex. Now, a lot of these conversations that are in here are just fine, usual Walking Dead character stuff. Can I trust this person? Oh no, my son's with me. But what I choose to think about this part of the episode is because the show is so far removed from the books now at this point, character-wise, almost everybody that's alive on this show is dead in the books and vice versa, right? They're hitting the major plot points, which is the Commonwealth, and they're adding good things to it. They're subverting expectations properly. And so with the characters that you do have left, I've decided to be like, well, let's just see what they do with it. Like now these characters who have cheated to death, their character deaths in the comic, hopefully we can get really wild with who's left. And I think that they've done a pretty good job at giving us these characters really good moments, like Gabriel's way more developed, and Aaron's way more developed, and Eugene is more developed, and Princess is more developed. And I've talked about this before, and that's one of the positives going into this. And when I try to think about like how all these characters really, shouldn't be able to hold this series up by themselves, most of them. Maggie's a different story. The beginning of this was also really kind of unique to me. The very beginning of this episode, when you got Aaron and Maggie, and the way that the shots are edited, and they're headed towards gunfire and screaming, and just really intense film, the way that they filmed this, and then how they started the theme song, the intro music, the main title music, like a few seconds before it started to like show like the energy and the intensity of what's about to happen of Maggie and Aaron going to, in towards the sound of gunfire and screaming and not knowing what's about to happen, and starting the na 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 na, and the close up kind of on their faces as they're going down the hallway with the guns. Really, really cool. I don't remember them doing that before starting the music before the actual main titles. And if they have done it, it's probably only been a couple of times. I thought that was a really interesting choice. Now, the Negan Herschel stuff. Because like I was saying, these characters can now do different things. We can have different scenarios come up. And Negan and Herschel in the book, I don't remember the two of them. I really don't. I don't remember the two of them having any interaction. And so for Herschel to be the one to pull the gun on Negan, and while I'm not a fan of the pull the gun and don't pull the trigger scenarios, this one works because it's a kid. First off, nobody wants that kid to pull the trigger no matter what. I know that there are people in the audience who would be like, yeah, this is the moment, right? This is the time to kill Negan because he has it coming. And who better, if it's not Maggie that kills Negan, it would be Herschel. But the thing is we're talking about a child murdering somebody, period. It doesn't matter if he's the kid's, the dad was killed by this man or just a stranger. This is a terrible, terrible moment for this child. And as much as I think Negan would have taken the bullet, they put it in a situation where, if we're all going to die, at least he can say that, like, look, you can do this, but if you do it, we're all going to get found out, and everyone, including your mom, is going to die, and you. So it was a little bit of a convenient situation to put the kid in, but I think they wanted to have that powerful moment and still be able to write themselves out of it cleanly without having a child, kill somebody. Anytime that they've done that on the show, it's been kind of like it's heavy. It's heavy stuff. I think we breeze past a lot of this stuff because we feel like these kids have seen a lot and done a lot, and they're just doing what they have to. But I don't think that we thought too much about the psychological effects of what this kind of stuff would do to somebody. Should it? And just because the world's like this, wouldn't you want your children to still have that kind of innocence? So I don't know. Also, the whole thing where he tells Herschel, in a few years, you still feel, like this way. You come find me, we'll settle it. And I was so happy to hear when I was talking about this episode at work that I wasn't the only one that immediately thought of Beatrix Kiddo and Kill Bill telling Vivica A. Fox's daughter, in a few years, if you still feel raw about it, you can come find me. And I always like that scenario because it's been done to death, but a lot of times they say it and you don't see it, right? Like if Vivica Fox's kid were to show up and try to fight Beatrix Kiddo, or Herschel would show up to kill Negan, would Negan or Beatrix Kiddo stand there and defend themselves, or would they just sit down and say, okay, I'm ready to go? And I like in some ways that we don't usually see those scenarios because then we can come up with any scenario and we can play out the fan fiction in our heads that we want. I'm just glad that the kid didn't have to kill nobody. Now, to the end part of this, yeah, Toby Carlson, he runs out of sidewalk in a way. He ends up on the roof where he thinks he can just talk everybody down, but it's way too late, and Aaron just shoots him off the roof, which he survives and then is proceeded to be devoured. Now, I kind of wanted this to, I guess the bloodlust in me wanted, if he was going to die, I wanted to see him really get ripped apart. We haven't had one of those, but a rooftop where he broke his spine, he can't move probably, and he just has to sit there, and we know he's being eaten, and his face is being ripped apart, and that, what does that say about us? But anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about this episode. It's just really, really good stuff still. I'm having so much fun with it. The way that they keep going back and forth in time, the way that they're still using little titles saying 2 weeks ago, like I'm just really enjoying this season, and I hope that you guys are too. We'll be back next week with episode 15. So again, if you like what we're doing here, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. I hope you guys are enjoying the journey that is this channel. I hope you're enjoying watching these videos change, and sometimes me as well. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.